Let us continue finding Eeyore's tail. So Winnie the Pooh went off to find Eeyore's tail. It was a fine spring morning in the forest as he started out. Little soft clouds played happily in a blue sky, skipping from time to time out in front of the sun as if they had come to put it out, and then sliding away suddenly so that the next might have his turn. Through them and between them the sun shone bravely, and the copse which had worn its furs all the year round seemed old and dowdy now beside the new green lace, which the beeches had put on so prettily. Through copse and spiny march bare, down open slopes of gorse and heather, over rock beds and streams, up steep banks of sandstone into the heather again, and so at last, tired and hungry, to the 100-acre woods. For it was in the 100-acre woods that Owl lived. If anyone knows anything about anything, said Bear to himself, it's Owl who knows something about something, he said. Or my name's not Winnie the Pooh, he said. Which it is, he added. So there you are. Owl lived at the Chestnuts, an old world residence of great charm, which was grander than anybody else's, or seemed to bear, because it had both a knocker and a pull bell. Underneath the knocker there was a notice that read, "Pless ring if an answer is recurred." Underneath the pull bell there was a notice which said, "Please knock if an answer is not required." These notices had been written by Christopher Robin, who was only one in the forest who could spell, for Owl, wise though he was in many ways, was not able to read or write and spell his own name, Wall. Yet somehow, all the pieces over delicate words like measles and buttered toast. Winnie the Pooh read the two notices very carefully, first from left to right, and then afterwards, in case he had missed some of it, from right to left. Then, to make quite sure, he knocked and pulled the knocker. And then he pulled and knocked the bell rope. And he called in a very loud voice, "Owl, I require an answer. It's Bear speaking." And the door opened, and Owl looked out. There's a wonderful picture of Owl's house here. I love it. And Pooh is standing right there. "Hello, Pooh," he said. "How's things?" "Terrible and sad," said Pooh, "because Eeyore, who is a friend of mine, has lost his tail, and he's moping about it. So could you very kindly tell me how to find it for him?" "Well," said Owl, "the customary procedure in such cases is as follows." "What does crustimony pod seed cake mean?" said Pooh. "For I am a bear of very little brain, and long words bother me." Oh! I think I'm in line with Pooh here. "Well," said Owl, "the customary procedure in such cases is as follows." "What does customary proceed cake mean?" said Pooh. "For I'm a bear of very little brain, and long words bother me." "It means the thing to do." "As long as it means that, I don't mind," said Pooh humbly. "Then the thing to do is as follows. First, issue a reward. Then..." "Just a moment," said Pooh, holding up his paw. "What do we do to this? What were you saying? You sneezed just as you were going to tell me." "I didn't sneeze." "Yes, you did, Owl." "Excuse me, Pooh, I didn't. You can't sneeze without knowing it." Well, you can't know it without something having been sneezed. What I said was, first issue a reward." "You're doing it again," said Pooh sadly. "A reward," said Owl very loudly. "We write a notice to anybody to say that we will give a large something to anybody who finds Eeyore's tail." I see, said Pooh, nodding his head. "Talking about large somethings," he went on dreamily. "I generally have a small something about now, about this time in the morning," and he looked wistfully at the cupboard in the corner of Owl's parlour. "Just a mouthful of condensed milk or what not, with perhaps a lick of honey." "Well then," said Owl, "we write out this notice, and then we put it up all over the forest." "A lick of honey," murmured Bear to himself. Or not, as the case may be," and he gave Owl a deep sigh, and tried very hard to listen to what Owl was saying. But Owl went on and on, using longer and longer words, until at last he came back to where he started, and he explained that the person to write out this notice was Christopher Robin. It was he who wrote the ones on my front door for me. Did you see them, Pooh? For some time now, Pooh had been saying yes and no in turn, with his eyes shut, to all that Owl was saying. And having said yes, yes last time, said no, not at all now, without really knowing what Owl was talking about. "Didn't you see them?" said Owl, a little surprised. "Come and look inside them now." So they went outside, and Pooh looked at the bell knocker and the notice below it, and looked at the bell rope and the notice below it, and the more he looked at the bell rope, the more he felt as he had been something like it, something else, something before. "Handsome bell rope, isn't it?" said Owl. Pooh nodded. "It reminds me of something," he said, "but I can't think what it was. Where did you get it?" "Well, I just came across it in the forest. It was hanging over a bush, and I thought at first somebody lived there, so I rang it, and nothing happened, and then it rang very loudly. And then I rang it very loudly, and it came off in my hand. And nobody seemed to want it. I took it home, and..." "Owl," said Pooh solemnly, "you made a mistake. Somebody did want that." "Who?" "Eeyore, my dear friend Eeyore. He was fond of it." "Fond of it?" "Attached to it," said Winnie the Pooh sadly. Oh, there's a wonderful little picture here. I never imagined Owl looking like just so stern, just incredibly stern. Bam, bam. And there's Eeyore's tail on the bell knocker. So with those words he unhooked it and carried it back to Eeyore, and when Christopher Robin had nailed it on in the right place again, Eeyore frisked about the forest waving his tail so happily that Winnie the Pooh came over all funny and had to hurry home for a little snack of something to sustain him. And, wiping his mouth half an hour afterwards, he sang to himself proudly, "Who found the tail? I," said Pooh, "at 1:45. Only it was 11:15, really. I found the tail." And there's Christopher Robin nailing Eeyore's bottom. And there's Eeyore having his dances. Alright, Christy. I'm glad that the chapter finished right on time. The next chapter will be Piglet Meets a Heffalump. I love you dearly, Christy. I will Skype you very shortly, as a matter of fact. So, sleep well, if you can, find a llama, and carry on. And I'll talk to you in about 2 hours. And it will be a wondrous occasion. Alright. I love you, Christy. Good night.